And David DeGuzman inside the NBC4 Digital Center for another Digital Sports Roundtable. We are continuing to count down to the Summer Olympics in Paris, and to help me out once again to talk all things soccer, fellow Olympic superfan and digital content producer Orri Benatar. Orri, you look at the soccer. First off, I mean, it's France, so it's going to be great because, you know, there's so many great venues in that country. Yep. But then you also look at the groups. We're going to look at both the men and the women. Overall, just kind of what's your biggest thing you're looking forward to as far as the football competition is concerned?
Well, just the fact that and this is something that the football competitions and the soccer brings in the Olympics, is that you're playing in iconic venues like we see with tennis and the other sports for the Paris Olympics. You don't always get the iconic venues for some of those other sports, whereas with soccer, you always get that because the Olympics are, for the Olympic tournaments, you don't just play in the city. You have to play all over the country. So 7 French cities are going to be hosting games. There'll be games in Lyon. There'll be games in Paris. There'll be games in Bordeaux. There'll be games in Nantes, etc. So, and obviously Liga being, probably one of the top 5 leagues in the world in terms of talent and fan interest and whatnot, you've got some pretty big venues for this. And France in general has been among the best nations in world football for the last 15, 20 years. So just that love of the game, that talent on display. You've got 12 women's teams, all who were at the World Cup 1 year ago, all bringing their best players. And then you got these 16 men's teams who've got a lot of good talent. Even though it's an under-23 tournament, there's a lot of good talent in there too. Yeah, let's
start with the ladies. Ladies first. So let's first kind of take a look at what the United States is bringing. It's a relatively young roster, a lot of great talent, and I get the sense that this is a team that is still kind of transitioning from what they once were into what the next generation will be. Also, this is a team that's looking to get over, what unfolded at the World Cup in Australia and New Zealand last year. But you look at this team, just a couple of names that stand out to me. I mean, obviously, Lindsey Horan is on there, Rose Lavelle, Sophia Smith, Crystal Dunn, Alyssa Nair in goal. What sticks out to you about this American team?
Well, just thinking back to how they played when they were in Columbus for She Believes Cup in that game against Canada, an unbelievable game, by the way. I love seeing this team play with Swanson, Smith, and Rodman together, and Jaden Shaw, because you add a lot of speed into that attack, and I think that's going to create a lot of issues for a lot of tough teams that they're likely going to be playing. But this is, to me, a very big tournament for the future of the U.S. women's national team. I mean, you think back to the last couple of major tournaments for them, not medaling in Rio for the Olympics. Even though they got bronze in Tokyo, they were not that impressive through most of that tournament. And then obviously their worst World Cup in their history, getting knocked out in the round of 16 by Sweden last summer in Australia and New Zealand. So for new manager Emma Hayes, this is a really important tournament for the U.S. women. But they're not going to have an easy road. They got to play Germany and Australia in their group. Zambia's a solid team as well. They're probably the worst team in the tournament, but they're not a bad team at all.
There's no really bad teams in
this Olympic
tournament. Just pointing out, you mentioned who's in Group B, which is where the United States is. That's Zambia, Germany, Australia. Group A, France, being on home field, I think that's going to be big. Canada and New Zealand are also in that. I think Group A is probably what I would call my group of death, but honestly, like any of these are really solid groups. And then Group C, Spain, Japan, Nigeria, Brazil. When you kind of step back and look at who's competing, who do you think will make the podium?
So Spain, to me, are the favorites, considering they're the reigning World Cup champions. They're bringing all their best players. The best player in the world right now is Aitana Bonmati, midfielder for Barcelona. She was the best player at the World Cup. Phenomenal talent. You've got Salma Paraluelo, who shined at the World Cup last summer at 19 years old, sort of like a Lamine Yamal, like we saw for the men at the Euros this past summer. You've got Alexia Putellas, you've got Jennifer Hermoso. That team is just stacked with superstars who win for Barcelona and with Spain. So to me, I think they should at least get on the podium. I think France should at least get on the podium too. Again, superstar players for Lyon, whose women's team is incredibly successful at the UEFA level in the European competitions. You've got Wendy Renard at captain. You've got some unbelievable talent on that team too. Canada are the reigning gold medalists, but they had a bad World Cup. Similar with Germany, Canada and Germany and Brazil. 3 teams with rich history, all knocked out in the group stages of the World Cup last summer. Colombia were quarterfinalists at the World Cup too. They're in that Group A, so who knows if Colombia maybe sneaks out of there. in second place potentially over Canada and or France. But the fact that it's a 12-team tournament, you win one game, you're probably through to the quarterfinals. You're only knocking out 4 teams from the group stage. So the U.S. is in a good position to most likely advance because you would think that they get 3 points against Zambia. But Brazil will be a compelling story because Marta, it's her last Olympics. She's going to be retiring from international football this year. Japan obviously was strong at the World Cup. Nigeria looked good at the World Cup. It's hard to say who really is.
Yeah,
this is a tight podium.
This is going to be one of those tournaments where, like, again, expect the unexpected. I think anything could really happen, and you have so many teams who could make the podium. And it's kind of one of those wide open tournaments that, it's a fun time to be a fan of women's soccer for sure. Let's now focus our attention to the men's soccer tournament. As you mentioned, Orri, the men's soccer tournament is under 23 squads, and each squad also gets 3 exemptions of overage players. You look at the men's roster, obviously, for us here in Columbus, Patrick Schulte comes to mind, Columbus Crew goalkeeper. He's representing Team USA in these Olympics. If you're a fan, though, of MLS, I mean, there's a lot of MLS, in this roster. What kind of sticks out to you about this group? And we're going to hear from Patrick Schulte in just a bit.
So with this group in particular, it's because this is the first time since 2008 that the U.S. men are in an Olympics. So that is a good stepping stone towards building up the roster and building up experience as the years go by, because that's something you always want for your national teams to qualify for Olympics, because then your youth is competing at a high level, and then when they get older and get to the senior team, then they can get themselves into World Cups and compete in World Cups. Good example of a national team that maybe is not in the best position is Brazil. They won the last 2 gold medals. They're not here. They didn't qualify. So the United States being in that position is really important. Schulte, of course, what a road he's had. 2 years ago, he's starting for Crew 2 in the developmental MLS Next Pro League, and now he's likely going to be the starting goalie for the U.S. Olympic roster and playing in that opening match against France 2 days before the opening ceremony. So I think the U.S., I like their roster. I like the overage players they picked, specifically the fact that they picked 2 defenders, Walker Zimmerman and Miles Robinson, because defense, you need that leadership, you need that composure, and you need that organization at the back. And against those younger teams, that's going to be vital in those group games or further down the road. It's
really impressive, just to see, as you mentioned, Patrick Schulte kind of grow into the player he is today. And just, he doesn't have that much national team experience, but he carries himself like someone who is very mature. And obviously this team looking forward to playing in France. Again, their first game was it 2 days before the opening ceremony on Wednesday? Yeah. And they'll be playing in Marseille. And that's, again, we've mentioned this before, something very unique about the soccer tournament in the Olympics is that they compete all over the country, much like a World Cup. Let's hear from Patrick Schulte, who I caught up with before he left for France. What's special about this group? What do you think is going to be the key to success over there in France?
Yeah, I think, just kind of playing with a little bit more of a chip on our shoulder. I think, a lot of the guys on the team, have a point to prove, and we want to, be able to, kind of prove that point over there. Not so for just us, but more so for the federation and, our country of, that we're a soccer country. We have talent over here, and we want to go over there and show it. So I think that's going to be the big thing for us to, kind of push us over the edge.
So we heard from Patrick Schulte talking about, having a chip on your shoulder. Obviously, as you mentioned, Orri, this is a team that hasn't been to the Olympics since 2008. He also talked about, who he might like to run into because it is the Olympics, and, he has some St. Louis ties. So obviously he kind of wants to see some St. Louis athletes. Also Simone Biles and LeBron James. Those were like the other 2 that he had on his list. But this United States team, it would be kind of a miracle if they get all the way to the podium. What do you think about the road ahead for the United States, and who do you think they'll be confronting in that road?
I mean, the way I see the U.S.'s road to potentially getting, because you got to get to the semifinals if you want any chance of a medal. That's the key. So they're with France, who has a great roster. They're one of the favorites. The 2 players I look at there are Michael Olise, who just signed with Bayern Munich after a great season with Crystal Palace, and then a veteran like Alexandre Lacazette, who's was at Arsenal and Lyon for so long, a veteran goal scorer. but their manager's Thierry Henry, and we've been able to listen to his philosophy and the way he thinks about the sport a lot more in the United States because he's an analyst for Champions League coverage in this country now. So I'm very curious to see how that French team plays. That's a match where if you can get a draw, that's the most ideal result. If you win, it's like, oh my God, that's unbelievable. No one expects them to win that game. But if you can get a point from that, that's key. I think the expectation is you beat New Zealand, and then the big game is the Guinea game. Guinea has a veteran player in Naby Keita, played for Liverpool for a very long time. So to me, try and get a point against France. You have to beat New Zealand. And then if you can draw or beat Guinea, then you're through to the next round. And then when it comes to the knockout stage, more than likely you're thinking they're going to finish second in the group if they advance. You probably are playing Argentina in the quarterfinals, and I would say Argentina, I think, are the best roster and the best team at this tournament. Manager, of course, Javier Mascherano, a legendary player for the Argentine national team and for Barcelona. Julian Alvarez, who's won everything you could want to win as a soccer player, and he's only 24, just won Copa America, and he plays for Manchester City. And then Thiago Almada, who's been a sensational star for Atlanta United and MLS, and a veteran center back like Nicolas Otamendi, who's going to be rough through those games. Very aggressive player. So the road is tough for the United States. I think they can get out of the group. I think they have the roster to get out of the group, but if they run into Argentina, it might be difficult. But Olympic men's soccer, like we've seen many times before, offers up a lot of surprises. I mean, Mexico won gold in 2012.
Yeah, I mean, it's really exciting to watch this American team, especially with kind of a gear towards, looking at, the World Cup in 2026 and what could possibly happen there. But you're right. I mean, this under 23 tournament basically is, again, one of those expect the unexpected kind of things. And, I just recall the last two Olympics. Obviously, you can't forget Rio and what Brazil was able to do on their home soil. And, being able to kind of do that again, it's you look at France and try to see if they can kind of pull off what Brazil did in Rio. It kind of gets, brings the goosebumps a little bit because it's exciting.
Right, and the fact that this is the world's game. Of all the sports in the Olympics, there is none more popular than soccer. It's interesting, though, because for the women, the Olympics are kind of like a World Cup light now. You've got 12 teams from the World Cup and the senior national team players playing. For the men, it used to be the Olympics was the World Cup back in the 1910s and the 1920s. Fun fact, if you look at Uruguay's soccer logo, they have 4 stars above their badge, 2 for the World Cup wins and 2 for the Olympic wins before the World Cup was invented in 1930. So this used to be the pinnacle of the sport for the world's game. It's not necessarily now because of the World Cup, but the fact also now that you're seeing some superstar players, a couple in particular, you got like Ashraf Hakimi from Morocco. He's one of the best right backs in the world and just led Morocco to a World Cup semifinal 2 years ago. He's on the Olympic roster for this Moroccan team. Or you've got someone like Fermin Lopez who just won the Euros with Spain, and now he's going to play in the Olympics. So they're bringing in guys who are talented players, who are among the top players in the world for the overage, or even some of the younger players too. Obviously if Lamine Yamal was on the Spain roster, it's a totally different ball game in terms of who's like the biggest star there. But the Olympic tournament always brings something, and at the same time, if you're a host country, especially when you look at a host country like France or Brazil or the UK, this is the most popular sport in that country. So if any gold you can win, this is the gold you want to win. And the French teams can do the double. I think the women are right there with the men. Both have very good chances to win these tournaments.
Oh, and if they can pull that off, I mean, they will go down in the lore of French sports history. Orri, always great talking to you. We're looking forward to a great Olympics, of course, opening ceremony right here on NBC4, July 26th. You can watch it live, and of course, all the competition on NBC and Peacock. Orri, until next time, appreciate it, and be sure to catch all our previews here on NBC4i.com. Until then, see you next time.